Hello everybody, I'm Hammer from the Hammer Game channel. Welcome back to HOI4 and to the New Order, where today we're taking a trip back to Russia because we cannot leave it, because I just keep on playing as all the different warlords, and there's so much more I need to play in this mod. I do have a nice list created that we will be working through over the coming months, but it is going to take a while to get through it. So here we are, we're playing as the West Russian Revolutionary Front today. It's been a while since I've actually played as one of the warlords over here on the far west. We are currently ruled by Alexander Yegorov, however I believe he passes on fairly early on into this. And then we do have three nationalists first. We have the Luftwaffe bombings, the Veterans of the Long War, and agricultural insecurity. So that's just pretty good. The other two, not so much. So we straight away get the choice between who we want to lead today. Do we want the Red Bonaparte himself, Mikhail Tukhachevsky, or do we want to have Zhukov? And we are going to do Zhukov today. I may come back in the future and go with the Red Bonaparte. Now, we've seen how things go usually over here, so I am probably going to need to create quite a big army because we do have quite a big front to cover. We are a long nation. The other difference we're going to have today is we'll be fighting Finland at some point. Well, I didn't realise that was part of the lore, that the Soviet Union actually managed to start fighting back in the West Russian War, with the Germans suffering defeat after defeat. But due to revolt after revolt springing up in the Union, that's what ended up causing its collapse and the Germans to ultimately win the day and the Soviet Union to cease to exist. Did not know that. Obviously, the plan today is to bring back the Soviet Union, so hopefully we're going to be successful in doing that. So we've got a letter here to Dmitry, which is from Tukhachevsky, and he's basically talking about how he's urged Marshal Yegorov every week that he needs to take a harder stance against our enemies, but he keeps getting told by Yegorov that they're not ready and they must look to the people first, and it's driving me a bit insane. He also thinks he doesn't have the stomach for what needs to be done for reunification to take place, and he does believe that Yegorov would rather take advice from Zhukov. So Dmitry's written back to Mikhail, and he's basically urged him to be cautious and to not act out on his frustrations, because he's in a good position of power and he needs to keep his head cool. Marshal Yegorov has excellently led a band of military officers to establish a rule over the front and maintain safety and security for our people. However, the man ages further with every year, and our front has continued to break down into separate factions with differing ideas. The Marshal of Victory, Zhukov, continues to lead a liberalizing faction, desiring devotion to the communist cause and promised to reform the government inefficiently. Meanwhile, the Red Bonaparte, Mikhail Tukhachevsky, ardently rallies for the militarization of the front, calling to abandon Bukharin, failing ideas and the use of the Red Army as a force for socialist change. Nevertheless, the front continues to march on, unsure of the future in these dangerous times. So we do have a bit of an ongoing agricultural situation where we don't have much food left, and we don't exactly have land that is suitable for agriculture. So we're gonna have to figure out how we're going to solve this. So as it stands, there are two contenders laying claim to Grand Marshal Yegorov's legacy, Tukhachevsky and Zhukov. For all that they are each other's polar opposites in many respects, philosophies, temperament, methods, the front's two greatest generals are also each other's equals, least of all in skill. A stalemate such as this will only be resolved by things greater than mortal men. So we can obviously have the Red Bonaparte or the People's Marshal, and today we're going to have Zhukov, the People's Marshal, take over. So this event here is talking about Zhukov and his crew. There's a few named individuals. There's Sergei, I am not going to be able to pronounce his surname. We've got Nikolai Ryzkov and Alexander Yakovlev. They're all parts of his crew that have helped him to get where he's got to today, and he's basically just currently sharing a drink with them. And we'll see how his crew helps him in the coming years. So the succession of Yegorov, in the lead Zhukov. Factionalism within the front is manageable, so I'll want to boost Zhukov's popularity whilst also maintaining this at a manageable level. To alleviate the pressure on our food stocks, we must change the ration system, reforming it to be more egalitarian and scientific. Our officers will calculate the rations based on calories, giving every loyal soldier of the front their minimum to survive for the day. Though this is hard, an undeserved burden, socialism expects all of us to share our joys and hardships. So agricultural insecurity is going to start getting modified, which is good. So Zhukov has got some agents going through tons and tons of paperwork taken from filing cabinets and libraries to try and create an incriminating document of evidence that will knock the stupid, smug grin of Tukhachevsky's face once and for all. So we're trying to find some dirt on Tukhachevsky right now. So a few weeks have passed since the agents commenced their work trying to find some incriminating evidence about the Red Napoleon. They've not really managed to find anything. The only thing they found was about a day at Tambov where Tukhachevsky did pretty much a war crime, which was already well known to everybody, so he's got nothing new on him. To make matters worse, Tukhachevsky has found out, and he is wanting Zhukov's head, as well as the agents who helped conduct the search. We're going to have to appease Tukhachevsky a little bit, because factionalism is getting a little bit bad for us. The West Russian army nearly drove the Germans from Russian soil entirely, but in the end it failed. We must ask ourselves why. Surely one of the primary reasons of failure of the military doctrines that the front have been utilised over decades. We must reassess such doctrines, such as Tukhachevsky's deep battle, decide whether or not they are truly useful in the modern era. General Zhukov's program has clinched it. Marshal Yegorov and his advisors recognise Zhukov's argumentation that the Red Army can no longer afford to fight as if its industrial capacity rivaled that of Germany. So Zhukov's suggestion to withhold tanks from the front line until a decisive victory can be earned has decried as cowardice by Tukhachevsky among many others. It ultimately littles how many armoured fighting vehicles each side begins with. What matters the most, according to Zhukov, is which side is left holding the strategic breakthrough capacity once the dust settles. And things are looking pretty good for us. I'm just trying to keep the factionalism down. So this is quite interesting. A lone vehicle has just attempted to cross over from the Komi Republic into our territory, and the vehicle's flying an American flag. So we've got a choice here. We can inform the capital immediately, or we can detain them and call for backup. I have no real reason to believe that this isn't anything suspicious. It's a bit weird seeing an American vehicle, but we'll inform the capital immediately. Entry 32. So this is the American that's going around checking all the nations, isn't it? Alright, so they spent some time drinking with some Red Army soldiers. We're obviously home of the remnants of the Soviet Union's Red Army. They've noted that occasionally during the night the room would shake violently, and that's obviously due to the Luftwaffe. The Americans may have once been our enemies, but in the West Russian War they proved themselves to be a useful ally and supplier of goods. CIA guns helped to force the Germans back from the AA line, and there are certainly still back channels that are active. While America has not always been a friend to the Soviet Union and its ideals, that doesn't mean that we can't gain from their assistance in the future. Oh, excellent. The supply of food is secure. Now something else must be done. To ensure the speedy arrival of it, we will dispatch our soldiers to rebuild the roads and railways, as well as protecting the distribution network from bandits. Let's approach the fractured republic, the Komi Republic. We could be friends, and there is a possibility we could have an alliance. Can we do that? For the first time since the West Russian War, the front has procured itself a steady stream of food for its soldiers and workers in its territory. To capitalise on the success and improve morale further, we'll review the regulated caloric intake previously set before the established trade routes. We'll increase this, giving our soldiers more to eat in a day than they have for months or even years. Well, not gonna lie, this is a little bit concerning. It's happened. The Luftwaffe have stopped. The front shall establish and reaffirm its authority over the wastes that surround Arkhangelsk. We will pick up the pieces shattered by the German bomb, and the front shall reforge itself. The Germans have given us the opportunity that we cannot afford to pass. Socialism shall rule Russia again, and when that is accomplished, we shall dye the world in red dawn. Well, I know who I want to deal with first, the Komi Republic, because I want the arsenal here, because the attack and defence on core territory is brilliant. Today, Grand Marshal Yegorov, the leader of the West Russian Revolutionary Front and former People's Commissar for Defence under Bukharin, has passed away due to old age. The favoured successor seems to be either Marshal Zhukov or his main rival, Marshal Tukhachevsky, as they are certainly the most popular generals among the remnants of the Red Army that remain loyal to Yegorov. Both have been working behind the scenes, attempting to gain influence with the front's Stavka, attempting to persuade it to march forward in their point of view. Heir has been declared to be Marshal Zhukov. So there he is, Zhukov is here. Grand Marshal Zhukov will ensure that Russia is never fractured again and revive the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, for only united will we be able to beat back the German horde and reclaim what was lost. Not who I really expected to see. Von Stauffenberg is still alive in this timeline. This is my first order. As Grand Marshal, I am authorising the mobilisation of all military-aged men for our West Russian operation. There will be more in the future, but this will do. Dismissed. There's work to be done. Right, finally we can get involved. There's 10 contenders currently, and I'm going straight after the Komi Republic. There is no point in wasting time because our main rival Samara is going to start taking people out as well. We're going in. Go, 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 go. Well, we've got the arsenal now, so that's going to be quite beneficial for us. I was going to say I didn't think they had much left. There we go, one down. Okay, we're going in. Right, let's just get aggressive into them. Right, that's another one down. Core them. We'll go ahead and welcome the heroes of Gorky. I think it's probably best we just strike Vyatka, because it's really them and Samara we need to look out for. Excellent, we've gained the Krasnoye Surmov factory, which helps with the creation of tanks and armoured vehicles. Oh yes, because Gorky's joined us, and holy moly, they had more divisions than I was really anticipating. What the hell? Oh, Samara's going after Vyatka. Right, hopefully we actually get them. We're also at war in the north as well now. We got that land before Samara, which is a win. Let's get all of that cored immediately. Liquidated Romanov relics, which needed consumer goods, minus 20% for 180 days, or want to maintain the cultural value these objects possess. No, let's just get rid of them. Okay, not really ideal because I was getting ready to invade the other. Thankfully I was sitting ready on their other border. Just made this significantly harder for ourselves. Hopefully we'll be fine against them. It's more Samara I'm worried about. Well, not worried about. They're the stronger threat at the end of the day. I like how we still have the Red Bonaparte with us. Right, the sooner we deal with this little nation here, the better we'll be. Right, they have been defeated. Right, the opportunity is here to cut them in half. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before Samara is gone. In fact, there they go. A successful operation, all objectives achieved, total victories. The generals just couldn't help themselves, Zhukov thought. He had just received the latest reports from the West Russian front lines. There they were, the stacks of paper detailing triumph after triumph stacked high on the table. Well, I suppose we should probably go ahead and restore this now. The West Russian Revolutionary Front unifies West Russia. Around the world, individuals and governments alike find themselves in shock. It's for the first time since the West Russian War of the 50s. Concrete information has trickled out of the husk of the Soviet Union. The West Russian Revolutionary Front, long thought crushed into the German boot, has spread and tightened its grip over West Russia and tamed the many battling warlords under the careful direction of Grand Marshal Zhukov. A well-known and respected reformist, Grand Zhukov has already begun further solidifying his grasp on the West, fortifying the Moscow border and rebuilding infrastructure. Even as the Red Army prepares the march east to the Urals, it would seem that even as the Reich finds itself recovering from its own civil war, the Russians prepare to begin another. The new Soviet era. Western Russia has now been united by the forces of our glorious Red Army, dismantling warlordism and crushing the enemies of the Soviet people. With these conquests, the West Russian Revolutionary Front has gained control of much new territory and can now truly claim to be a successor to the legacy of the old Union. So we could move to Kitfikar, that's definitely not how that's pronounced, Rykov, or we can just stay in Arkhangelsk. I think we'll move to Rykov, because it's slap bang in the middle of our current territory. I don't know how this has managed to get to this point, but cool. And why does it seem like absolutely nothing is happening over here with Kemerovo, Novosibirsk and Krasnoyarsk? So the three names in the focus tree who can get increased influence, I forgot, they're Zhukov's men. They're the men below him. So he's now going to be deciding which one of them is going to be his successor to take over once he's no longer with us. So we're going to want the communist one to win today, because I think he's going to take Zhukov's plans and aims into the future once he's no longer able to do that. Okay, so it explains who they all are. The current balance of power within the Russian Revolutionary Front between the factions of Sergei, Nikolai and Alexander is in favour of no faction. Possible reforms to bureaucracy can be seen below. So we can increase their influence as well manually. So we might as well go ahead and increase his. So with us going with Sergei, it actually makes more sense going down eyes to the west because he gains an increase in influence. We'll have to put considerable resources in agitational propaganda to sway the people in these regions over to our cause and instill in them an understanding of loyalty to socialist values. We are confident that with time the people will remember the lessons of October. Many claim that the front has a long way to go in women's rights, but such people forget inherently feminist nature of our socialist system and the great gains that October won for Soviet women. Soviet Union was one of the first countries in the world to grant women equal status to men in all legal matters, divorce upon request and full rights to vote and participate in politics. Women continue to be equal in Soviet society today. We should not forget this as we fight to liberate women across the Russian warlord states. Rumours have started to leak from our former provinces inside East Karelia, wrongly stolen from us under the apocalypse. It was Operation Barbarossa. In the city of Murmansk, especially, discontent against the occupying Finns have reached a boiling point. If something isn't done, it seems that Helsinki will have a full-blown insurgency on their hands, something in their political atmosphere that they can scarcely handle. However, when a door closes for some, a window opens for others. Some leading members in the Murmansk separatist movement have graciously reached out to us for aid and assistance in their upcoming struggle against the Republic. Anything they want, they get. The rebellion has begun. Our sources were correct for once, and a general insurgency against Finnish forces has driven the Finnish defence forces out of the Kola province and cleared the city of Murmansk. This time Murmansk will be home to people much closer to home. Our volunteers have already been trained and equipped by us to fight alongside our brethren inside the MPR. Yeah, I think I'll just send volunteers. Right, the recent expansion of the West Russian Revolutionary Front has put severe strain on the state bureaucracy, with hundreds of administrators being sent out to govern our new territories and our capital Rykov. The central government is experiencing a severe manpower shortage. The situation has reached a level where our efforts to cement our control over Western Russia has been seriously hampered as a result. We need to rebuild the state bureaucracy from the ground up. Let's get started. Right, it's not going great, but we are still in Murmansk. We're at 80%. We're at 80%. 4 weeks. Hold on for 4 weeks more. Oh, they lost. Well, we're still going in. Right, we are here. We are ready. Now let me integrate my territory back. Thank you very much. We'll no longer be able to sustain operations. We've got 190 days. Well, there we go. Finland's finally offered surrender to us. We've not had to push too far. Getting through that bottleneck was an absolute pain in the backside. Diplomats representing the Finnish government have approached us, offering surrender once again. This time they fully concede to our demands and are offering to hand over Nega, Murmansk and parts of Karelia east of Vaipuru. This will restore control of our Arctic port and bring hundreds of thousands of our countrymen back into the fold. There we go, we have been victorious. We've not got all of our land back. We didn't get a lot, to be honest, but it's something. Was it worth all the men we lost to get this? Probably not. When the great Lenin united Russia under the Red Banner, he had extended a hand of friendship to other socialist organisations since the Menshevik internationalists, the left SRs, only for them to attempt subversion after subversion of the revolutionary cause. In this same way, while the new bureaucrats may seem at first glance promising, the possibility of an internal threat arising from the promotion is too great. Thus, we will maintain a current centralised bureaucracy for the safety of us all. The front is a provisional government, this we all know, but the ideals it upholds need no alterations lest the revisionary forces subvert what we have fought so hard to achieve. It is clear that once the front is dissolved, the Union must be governed by a new constitution, to be drafted immediately. As such, a new Soviet constitution shall in essence continue the governance of the front long after its dissolution. There is no need to change the system that has proven to work. Well, it looks like Kemerovo is going to be unifying there. The Far Eastern Soviet Socialist Republic exists though, so if we can win and they can win, we should have a nice unification with them. Peaceful unification at that. So we have now re-entered the world stage as an actor among equals. This comes with renewed attention from enemies and allies, both old and new. Consequentially, we invite unto ourselves great risks, great rewards, and great opportunities in equal measures. We begin these three tasks by first answering an age-old dilemma. Should the front restore its old ties with the West's sleeping giant, or should it forge its own path among our fellow socialists in the East? And we will of course be approaching America. Zhukov held the Constitution in his hands, reading the words carefully, making sure there's no mistakes. The Constitution would cement communist rule in the front and would ensure the front would remain largely the same after Russia was reunified. It would go into effect almost immediately, but that still meant little would change. Still, the new constitution would officialise everything and did put many certain rules in place for the government. Authoritarian powers would stay with Zhukov and the government. That's just how things had to be. One stroke of his pen, the constitution was signed off and ready to go into effect. Right, the race for the Urals, let's do it. And there's confirmation finally that Kemerovo has unified Central Siberia. I'm not gonna spend time investing in them. I'm just gonna destroy them all, then I'll invest in them. With our two options decided, it's time we chose. Our diplomatic choice could very well determine the future of Russia. Our first option is to align with the organisations of free nations in America. While befriending America could come in handy with the wars against Germany and other Russian powers, it could very easily show we are betraying our very own ideology. America could aid us economically and militarily, but a more socialist option is also apparent. Instead of aligning with the OFN, we could choose our own alliance, the Comintern. Befriending other socialist nations in the world would not betray our ideology. It would also be perfect for us on the world stage, displaying our strength in socialist solidarity. Unfortunately, no Comintern could provide what the US could, and may very well weaken us in the long term. Do we choose America, sacrificing ideology for aid, or do we choose the Comintern and perhaps unite the socialist world but alienate the Americans? We must decide. Yeah, we're gonna go with the West. We're gonna approach America. For the first envoys Russia will send to the Western Hemisphere in decades, garnering impressive first impressions, it's a necessity impelled by the front's needs. In this, our entourage will be aided immensely by Alexander Yakovlev and, to a lesser extent, Sergei Akarameyev, both fervent advocates of welcoming America back to Arkhangelsk, even in the days of Yegorov. When the Union fell to Barbarossa, her soldiers regrouped in an orderly fashion. When Russia fell to warlordism, her generals kept order for as long as they were able. And when the Reich was crippled by the fruits of their arrogance, her beloved Red Army struck a blow from which Germania never recovered. We the Motherland's mighty bulwark, one and all, oath-sworn inheritors of 1,000-year watch against our old nemesis to the west. For her sake, the Americans must be reminded of that fact. Sent to America to negotiate a trade deal and request economic aid, Yakovlev was happy to meet with the Americans. Having visited multiple times before, he was all but used to the country and its people. This time would even be an official visit. If all went as planned, he would even get to meet the president. It was also lucky that Yakovlev knew English. He was one of the only few of the higher echelon members of the front that knew it. No one really studied it back in the warlord days, and most couldn't even travel to English-speaking countries. Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Americans will greet us with open arms. And away we go, into the Urals. Now, they've also struck as well. Get out of here. Right, just make sure, men, that we actually take the majority of the land here. It's happened. It appears America has recognised our government, a major victory for us diplomatically. This means relations between us and the Americans will grow ever stronger, opens up more options for us in the future. Yakovlev was keen to reassure the Grand Marshal that he will return with dignified gifts from the Coca-Cola Company. Yes, Comrade Zhukov and the fishing tackles Mr. Eisenhower promised too. Oh, thank heavens. Okay, we got the land. We got it. I say, if Omsk had managed to hoover that up there, I would have been very, very disappointed in myself. Okay, let's integrate the acquired territories. Right, well that done, there is only one thing to do. Wait until this conflict kicks off. President Johnson and his associates heartedly welcomed the Red Army's officers to speak before their Congress for the first time. The speech Yakovlev gave to America's assembled statesmen, his companion said, dominate the country's newspaper and television for days. It was in this revelrous Fague, where the President invited our ambassador to the old Soviet consulate, which he offered to us in perpetuity. Let's not look at gift horses in the mouth, or in this case, gift buildings in their facade. This was it, the moment Yakovlev had been waiting for. He finally got to meet with the President of the United States, and they had talked about so much more than just trade agreements. There was a lot more to know about America than Yakovlev realised, and of course he mentioned how things were back home. Stepping inside the White House doors and speaking fluent English, Yakovlev turned and said, President Lyndon B. Johnson, it's been an honour to meet you. I'm very happy that the partnership between our two nations, open trade, will surely benefit us both. I feel the same way, Mr. Yakovlev, said the President. I do hope this partnership continues, and I promise I will try everything I can to persuade Congress the benefits of our alliance. I'm glad you chose to be with us to move onwards into the future. Yakovlev held out his hand, smiling at the President and at the cameras. The President shook it as if they were blinded by camera lights for the countless reporters and journalists. Okay, well, we're going to be able to apply for OFN aid shortly. Through our actions, the West Russian Revolutionary Front has regained its old standing with the United States. Western ships dock at Arkhangelsk and leave with Russian oars just as they had before the Great Patriotic War. American generals appraise our troops with approving eyes. By the day, their diplomats regard our ambassadors less as the Red Armies, but as that of the Soviet Union come again. We're still like 2.5 years until the confrontation with Omsk, which is good because we are slowly but surely building supply and railway. I might actually have to drop down some factories for the time being. We must never neglect the source of our power. It would be even more foolish than a tank brigade ignoring the fuel in which it runs, for at least the fuel of tanks can be replaced. The trust of our workers, once gone, is almost impossible to replenish. Thankfully, we are tracing the patterns of worker efficiency, and with innovations in organisation and labour standards, we are building an integrated industry network that will truly stand with the best in Russia. One may attempt to seize the grain from the farmer when it is not enough, but who would that serve? Neither the city worker nor the peasant shall suffer the misery of hunger in our union. We'll give the farmers the funding they need, and we only ask for one thing in return: more food. Do what you have to, but give us more bushels. People have begun to notice things looking up in West Russia. Economically, we are better off than we have ever been before, and poverty has been at its lowest since Russia was last unified. New industries are also producing more goods for people to buy, increasing the quality of life all around West Russia. An agrarian lifestyle is slowly becoming an industrial one, and our economy is seeing the benefits. It is good that people are happy and more are seeing the advantages of communism. Yet still there is much to be done to improve the economy and prepare it for reunification. There are many options ahead of us. It is up to us to choose the best one and continue the growth. Our hatred of Bukharin's military policies is well documented. One may never forget that, but his economic policies, those are hard to criticise from our perspective. One might even call them admirable, and we will continue with them. The Union will continue along this path, adopting the plans he set out to fulfil, and fulfilling the wonders that he had envisioned. All agree that the Bukharinite administration did do one thing right in the economic sphere, the Siberian Plan. The building up of industry far from the German border in Siberia in preparation for the Great Patriot War failed to win us the war, but it did show us the possibilities of massive government effort towards industrialisation. It is a legacy that we should seek to emulate. We'll copy the plan and implement a version of it here in West Russia, expanding our civilian manufacturing, infrastructure and military industry. Hopefully it'll leave us better prepared to face the Germans than its predecessor did. Now once that's done, the economy's dealt with, it will just be the army, and we're still a year and a half away from being able to take on Omsk. Many dismissed the Red Army as a failure. It had dissolved after the German invasion. When we threw the Germans back from the AA line, the world was stunned, but dismissed us again afterwards. Now we have restored the front and moved to take Russia once again. If the world doubts us, they do so at their own peril, for we are men of the iron, born to fight, survive, and never ever admit defeat. Zhukov and his clique have been constantly going behind Marshal Zhukov's back and occasionally trying to stab him in it. This is unbecoming of a professional soldier in the Red Army, especially ones with such high ranks as him and his men hold. They are a disgrace and a stain upon the uniform, and one knows what must be done with stains. These traitors will be removed from service. Well, Tukhaevsky's away, guys. Zhukov has just fired him. Tukhaevsky did expect this a lot sooner, but he was useful in taking Western Russia, wasn't he? So that's why he was kept around, but now he's gone bye-bye. Well, well, well. The Far Eastern Soviet Socialist Republic has reached out to us, and we've opened up diplomatic relations with one another, and we're no longer embargoing each other as well, so things are looking good between us. So hopefully we can peacefully unify if we both emerge victorious from the other conflict. The Far Eastern Soviet Socialist Republic offers Comintern associate status to us. Well, I don't see any reason for us to not join, to be honest. We get best of both worlds from our focus tree, technically. How is their stability minus 95? This will hopefully be the second last war for Russian reunification. The last one hopefully going to be between these two. The only annoying thing is Omsk is literally the furthest away point it could be. Capital secured. Where's the new one? It's Vorkuta. There it is. We've won. We have been victorious. Let's just hope our brothers in arms across in Siberia are actually able to win. After years of bitter struggle, we have finally reunited our shattered motherland, the West Russian Revolutionary Front, our sword and shield against the Nazi menace, and long decades of warlordism could finally be dissolved. In its place, we shall restore the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. We are the true heirs to the Soviet Union that carries the legacy of the October Revolution and the last light of truth, equality and justice in a world drowned in darkness. Led by Grand Marshal Zhukov, we will triumph. Well, I'm a bit gutted by that. It says we have no reason to involve ourselves in the Far Eastern Soviet Socialist Republic's proxy war. But we've got really good relations with one another. We've opened diplomatic relations. We're in the Comintern together. Why can't we help them out? And the thing is, I am concerned that they are losing. Before the Great Patriotic War, the American and Soviet people stood at odds with many Americans afraid of a socialist system of government. Yet during the Great Patriotic War and ever since, our interests have been aligned. Today the Americans have much to show us from their impressive military and industry. We should seek to emulate their example and should not let our political differences define us. After all, our Soviet state was born in the fires of a great revolution, but so was that to the Americans. Perhaps we aren't so different after all. The sacred and final war to liberate our Soviet motherland approaches. Everyone knows it. Nobody can escape from the truth of what is to come. The last time we faced the Germans, we faltered and lost all but our lives. But this time, we will not falter. We will be ready. Every one of our soldiers armed, prepared, and willing to sacrifice their lives in the struggle for liberation. We will make them pay for every humiliation, every martyr, every inch of our soil that they have watered with blood of our people. We will drive out the fascists once and for all, no matter the cost. Such is our destiny. Grand Marshal Zhukov is a man of the people, born the son of poor Russian peasants who had risen from the masses to lead our Red Army and unite our shattered motherland. From the Civil War to the Great Patriotic War, to the War of Reunification, Zhukov has fought and bled and struggled for the Soviet people. A soldier forged in the fire of 1,000 clashes, Zhukov is an enduring symbol of victory on the battlefield. He is the one who led our people through the hard times. He is the one who shall break the Nazis and restore the Motherland. Hail to the Grand Marshal, the saviour of Russia. So Zhukov was given a speech to what's ended up being a large group of people. He was expected to be a lot smaller, but the speech goes, today we stand on guard. Our enemies tremble in their steps as they have seen our rise to power. We have successfully unified the West. Now, however, we must look towards the East. Our power is increasing. We will unify Russia for our children. Most importantly, however, will be our ongoing fight against the dogs in Moscow. Our home has been taken away from us for too long. We will return. And after the speech finished, the crowd erupted in the cheers. Soviet flags had been waved back and forth. Zhukov smiled and waved one last time before heading back inside. As he walked back into the Presidium building, he hoped that the Union would truly live up to the standards he had talked about in his speech. It would take lots of time to see if these aspirations became true. Onwards to Moscow. Well, this was not the outcome we were wanting for Central Siberia. The time approaches for the final confrontation with the Nazis, the last great struggle for liberation, the sacred war for the heart and soul of Russia, and we must ready the nation to face it. The last Soviet territory outside our control must be taken by our Red Army, which will march all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Then they will have to march west and face the great enemy head on. If the Soviet people stand united and do their duty to the Motherland, the great cause of socialism cannot falter. Come, comrades, Moscow and Leningrad await. The Germans invaded our motherland, but we fought on. They massacred our people, but we resisted. They bombed our remaining cities to oblivion, but we survived. After everything they have done to us, we are still here. The Red Army, the last soldiers of the socialist cause in a world overrun by fascist tyranny. Every blow they have landed against us has only made us stronger, and now we stand before the world, having reunited our fractured nation, unbowed and triumphant. Let the world hear us. We are the Red Army, the last hope of humanity. We will plant the red flag on Moscow, then Leningrad, then Germania itself. We will bring the wretched Nazi order to the ground and show them once and for all the Red Army is the strongest. Well, it's here. It's time to do the preparation. Right, I've almost caught up with the trains because for some reason I hadn't been producing any all game. Okay, the war is here. I have a funny feeling we'll be able to push, but it might be another costly affair. Oh, I didn't realise they changed Krasnoyarsk to their capital. Now we're about to take their capital. See how that hits them. Alright, come on men, let's keep going. Union is almost restored. Oh, we encirclement. Well, we've done it. We've emerged victorious. Let me integrate all the territory. Return to the front. The bloody wars of the Russian unification have ended, and it is the grizzled veterans who first defended the nation from Nazi Germany that are its victors. The West Russian Revolutionary Front, formed by Red Army remnants, has officially declared the unification of Russia under their banner. Over the years, the front has continued to wage war not only on Nazi Germany, but also the warlords who have dominated Russia after the Soviet collapse. The WRRF's leader, Grand Marshal Zhukov, is not only praised as a strategic genius, he is also hailed as a champion of the common people, and has promised to continue his support for the underprivileged of the Soviet Union. The government of Germany has not yet made a response to Russian reunification, but reports are filtering in that they are mobilising their troops on the border. Zhukov stood upwards, surrounded by his three most important confidants, the original three that stood by him and his clique. Kromeyev, Rykov and Yakovlev all stood side by side with each other inside Zhukov's office, holding cups filled with the best alcohol the Union had at its disposal. You all know why I brought you here. To celebrate, interjected Yakovlev, a bright smile on his face. Correct, gentlemen, we've done what many considered impossible. We had a mission that even Lenin would have considered too difficult, and we accomplished it. If I were more religious, I might say that it was a will of God. The men laughed at that, especially at Kromeyev. We'll celebrate our victories tonight, gentlemen. With our enemies defeated, we have begun the long journey towards a better Russia. Drink, friends, for tomorrow we will have the difficult journey towards rebuilding Russia from the ashes of almost 30 years of war. But first, a toast. Zhukov lifted his drink upwards. To Russia. Well, there we go, we're done. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy, and I will catch you all very soon for another video. Until then, guys, do take care. Goodbye the now.